In order to view your workflow settings, you'll need to click on the blue hyperlink at the bottom of the Camera Raw dialog. The first thing we're going to look at is color space. There are 4 common color spaces: Adobe RGB, Color Match, ProPhoto, and sRGB. Because color spaces are a complex topic, I'm going to recommend that for this training series, you set your color space to Adobe RGB. Although Adobe RGB doesn't have all of the colors that a larger space like ProPhoto has, by using Adobe RGB, we have a good probability that your monitor, assuming that it's calibrated and profiled, will show you all of the colors in the image. The next option is bit depth. You can either select 8 or 16-bit. I would recommend that you work in 16-bit because there's more information than if you work in 8-bit. The files will be larger. Still, I think file size is a small price to pay for better image quality. If you simply want to hand off your file at the same size that you had captured it, then you don't need to do anything else. The next 3 areas you certainly don't need to change when handing off your files to Photoshop. The image sizing area allows you to hand off a specific size image. But if you simply want to take the image that you're working on in Camera Raw and hand off all of those pixels to Photoshop, then you don't need to do anything. If for a specific job, you know that you want to hand off files at a specific size, then you can enable this and enter in the values that you want. For example, if I had a 4:6 image that I wanted to export, I could go ahead and type in 6 inches by 4 inches, and if I knew the resolution, I could enter that as well. For now, we're going to leave this off. There is an option for output sharpening. However, I would recommend, if you're going to take the image into Photoshop, to continue working on it. For example, you might want to do some retouching or dodging and burning. Then I would leave off the output sharpening. Otherwise, Photoshop is going to sharpen all the edges, and then when you work on that file further, you might be amplifying that sharpening. Instead, I would leave this unchecked, and then when you're finished retouching your image in Photoshop, then you would apply the sharpening for the output device that you're going to. Finally, there's an option to open in Photoshop as smart objects, but that's going to be discussed in later videos. If you do take the time to set up workflow options, you might want to save this as a preset, and you can do that by using the pull-down menu. For now, let's go ahead and create a workflow preset. I'll call it Adobe RGB and 16-bit. When I click OK, Camera Raw will create that preset, and then you'll notice that I could select it from the list. Not only could I select it from the list here, but I want to show you a quicker and faster way. Once we click OK, if you right mouse click or if you control click on Mac, you can select your preset without ever going into the workflow options. So as we can see, these options are quite important, yet they're easy to overlook because of this small hyperlink. So to create the correct file for your workflow, be sure that you check these workflow settings before opening your files in Photoshop.